Hello everybody, glad to see you here. Glad y'all made it out today. I just want to talk a little bit about who I am before I start into the presentation. My name is Dave Cottrell. I've been coaching youth football in Harrison County, West Virginia for 32 years, all with the same outfit, South Harrison Youth Football. Been on the sidelines for a lot of games. I'm not going to go into wins, losses, championships, stuff like that, because I don't want to spend a lot of time on that. I'm going to present some of the stuff that I do and then say, this is the way I do it. It's up to you. If you want to do it that way, that's your call. This is how I do it. So hopefully you can learn something from me today that you like. You're not going to like everything, but you can learn some, and then you can pick from what you like and do that part of it. That's how I've done it over the years. And so we'll just go ahead and get started. Before I give you the warning, I want to say that I've changed the way I coach over the last, I don't know, 8-10 years. And I'm watching Friday Night Tykes, and I'm seeing all of this coaching that I think is so wrong, and I think I really need to get the word out that you don't have to coach like that. You can be a lot calmer, a lot more direct with the kids. You don't have to treat them bad, you don't have to scream at them, you surely don't have to cuss at them. And I wanted to get the word out, so I started a blog, and then I talked to Glazier to start doing these clinics, and this is my first one. So hopefully you like some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about, because if you watch Friday Night Tykes, anybody watch Friday Night Tykes? Yeah, a couple of you. Yeah, that's you don't have to coach like that, and I want to get that word out that you don't have to be like that to be a football coach. And so that's where I'm headed with this. So I've got a few warnings that you might want to pay attention to. So find out whether or not you'll like what I'm going to say. There's no X's and O's going to be talked about for the next 2 sessions. So if you're into the X's and O's and that's all you're into, well, I can tell you that you can't fix everything with X's and O's. We want to think that us guys as mechanics, we can fix everything with X's and O's, but we can't. We just can't do that. It's not the only thing to coaching a football team. So I'm not going to talk about X's and O's for the next 2 sessions. I will talk about God, because I feel that He's directed me in the way that I'm coaching now. I feel that I've had a lot of influence from Him and from the books I've read, and so this is where a lot of my direction comes from. So I want you to be aware of that. So maybe now, if you're uncomfortable with that, you can go ahead and leave now. I will talk about how to correctly love your players. And the way that I define love is the way that Dallas Willard does in some of his books. I am set to do the next right thing for that person. Love is a choice. Whether you like somebody or not may not be a choice, but the choice to love somebody is something that you do choose. So when you love your players, it means that you're going to do what's right for them. That's the next right thing that you're going to do for them. So, giving you warnings here, if any of these 3 make you nervous, then this might be your opportunity to leave. All right. Well, what do we got here? We got championship trophies. Well, isn't that what we're all after? Isn't that what everybody thinks their big pursuit is? How many of you are after that? Okay. Let's be honest. But this is what moths and rust destroy and thieves break in and steal. Some of you will recognize what that's saying there. This isn't all there is to life or football coaching. This is what your treasures in heaven are. This is what is eternal. These guys right here, all these faces, all those hearts in there, that's what's eternal. So what I did was I took some scripture from the Bible, Matthew 6:19-21, and that's what I was talking about there. Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So you got to decide, or as you treasure those trophies, and how you're going to treat those kids, or your treasures those kids, and that is going to determine how you coach. So if you want to invest in that. So that's the bottom part. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So where's your focus? Is your focus on the kids and doing right by them, or is your focus on winning and trying to get those trophies? Well, here's the truth of it. You will actually do better if you focus on the kids and on your way to trying to win, on your way to working to win. The stuff I'm talking about will not take away from your ability to win. It will only add to it. So here's some of the wrong goals or attitudes that I see in coaching youth football all the time, and some of these might fit you, some of them might fit me at times. So all these coaches out here want to look good. They want to look impressive to the parents, to the kids. They've got a big ego, okay? One thing I've learned about coaching kids, you need to drop your ego back in your vehicle. When you walk out there with those kids, your ego has no place on that field. It really doesn't. So drop that big head, get rid of it, be humble, walk out there to be ready to coach your kids. Win at all cost. Well, what does that mean? That means that you're willing to cheat, you're willing to tell kids to do the wrong things so that you can win. I've known plenty of coaches like this. I saw it on Friday Night Tights. Coach telling his kid to smack the center before the snap count. You know, the defensive nose tackle was going to smack the center before they snap the ball. Okay, that's a win at all cost attitude. You don't want that guy. You don't care who gets hurt. You really don't care. You put a kid back in that's just had a hard hit to the head. If nobody figures it out, you're willing to put them right back in there. What is your number one priority? Is it the kids or is it winning? I actually heard a coach say this once. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. And so he was pushing the rules beyond the limits. That's not what you're supposed to be doing. Every time that you walk out there, you are not only being yourself, you're setting an example for these kids. This is what I call daddy ball, and I think that's a pretty common term. Make sure my kid gets to play quarterback or running back. If that's your motivation, that your kid is going to get to play, and he's going to get to play the position that shows him off. I've seen plenty of teams that had the wrong kid at quarterback, had the wrong kid at running back, and it actually helps us to win. We just won a championship a few years ago. The best player on their team was playing tight end. He should have been running the ball 20, 25 times in the game. He was playing tight end. I lined up my best kid at safety to take away any passes they were going to throw to him. And when they saw my kid back there, they never threw to him the whole game. So if they put him at tailback in their I offense, this kid gets 20, 25 carries. But no, who's in the backfield? The coach's sons. All of them were coach's sons that were back there. They had so much talent that they had made it to the championship game. We ended up beating them, but not so much because of talent. We had enough to do it, but it was because of heart. They just didn't have what we had. So if you're playing daddy ball, then you need to change it, because you will destroy your team. You will poison your team. Are you going to blame it on the kids when something wrong happens? You can't. I know of coaches that they're constantly blaming the kids. Well, they just can't get it. They can't figure it out. And it's not their fault. If you're only 8, 9, or 10 years old and you've never seen this done before, you've never played this game, they can't figure it out on their own. You need to teach them. So if you go screaming at them and blaming them for something that you haven't taught them, how's that fair to that kid? It's not. It's just not fair at all. So you got to be the adult in this situation and realize it's not that kid's fault, it's your fault for not teaching him. Oh, I see so many of these guys. They are too cocky, too big an ego. They won't ask another coach how they do anything. They won't, I've been doing this 32 years. They don't come to me and ask, hey, coach, you know, why do you guys have so much success in your program? I'd like to learn from you. Very few coaches ever do that. I would say it's less than 20% of the other coaches in our conference ever come to me and ask questions. And I'm willing to talk to them, I'm willing to help them out, but I'm also willing to go to clinics, read books, own literally 100 books on coaching football, and read on the internet. Just get out there and find out as much as I possibly can about it from everybody else that's out there. But not these guys. These guys already know everything about football. That's what they would tell people, that they already know everything about football. Why would they need to study? I know football. Well, what they find out is when they start studying, they don't know nearly as much as they thought they knew. The more you learn about football, the more you realize, I don't know. I didn't know. This is, the louder I yell, the better they'll understand. They go back to their high school days and they had a coach that yelled at them. They were 18 years old. They think that's the way they should treat these kids. And when you're talking about 8 to 12-year-olds or even 5 or 6-year-olds, yelling at them isn't going to work. It might work somewhat with an 18-year-old, and you might be able to challenge him, but it really doesn't work with the little guys. So the louder I yell, the better they'll understand. You just scare the crap out of them. Little guys are out there, you're already this big intimidating fella to them, you're just scaring them to death. They will not be able to identify with you on that. All right. You have a platform as a coach. You have a lot of responsibility. These kids look up to you. You do not realize how much power you have in their lives. It is mind-blowing how much power you have in their lives. And if you've been a coach very long, you had a parent come to you and say, Coach, would you tell my son to do this? I've had this happen over and over. And I said, well, why is that? Well, because he listens to you, he won't listen to me. And that just tells you, gives you a small example of how much power you have over these kids. You are an extremely influential person in their life. Don't take it lightly. There I said it. Don't take it lightly. I used to. I used to be that guy that would sit in a room at a coaching clinic, and I've been in all-day coaching clinics where the guy starts out talking about character building and talking about making the kids accountable and all this, and I'm sitting there, this was probably about 2001, 2002, I'm sitting there thinking, Coach, would you just get onto the X's and O's? That's what I'm interested in. I want to learn these X's and O's because I want to be the mechanic. That's how I can fix my team. I'm the mechanic, I'm a guy. That's what we do. Well, I wasn't touchy-feely, and I couldn't bring myself to understand that really turning these kids onto football and onto how hard they can play from the inside out was the right way to go. I just thought, I need the X's and O's. So I was this guy that took the platform lightly. I would say, don't put that on me, I'm just a football coach. I don't have that kind of responsibility. Well, I was wrong. I was wrong, and I learned through the years that I was wrong. So I'm a recovering one of these. Yeah, what are you going to do with this opportunity? You got a season to spend with these kids. You're going to spend the next 3 months with them. You're going to talk to them more than their parents talk to them in the next 3 months. You're going to spend more time with them than their parents are in the next 3 months, almost surely. So what are you going to do with this opportunity? Are you going to do something good with it, or are you just going to let it pass you by? You can make it into a big deal and make it a lot of fun for them, or you can just say, oh, I can't wait till I get through this. Just get me through this and I'll be done with it. It's an opportunity. It's not drudgery. It's something that I love to do, and hopefully you love to do while you're here, so that kind of proves that you are into it. And this is the big difference. Are you going to be a transactional coach or a transformational coach? With this platform, you have the opportunity to do that. You can choose which one. A transactional coach is the guy who is just going to try and get the kids to play ball. I'll put my time in. I'm going to teach you what I know about football. You're going to go out there, you're going to do it, and then I'll see you at the end of the day. You know, you're going to get out of them what you can for your ego, to build your ego with wins, and in the transaction, you're going to teach them a little bit about football. At least, hopefully, you know something about football and you can teach them a little bit about it. And that's the transaction that's going to happen between the two of you. It's just not going to be any deeper than that. Or you can be a transformational coach, and you can say, I can do a whole lot more for these kids than just give them a football season. Just get them through a football season. I can teach them life lessons. I can make them play. I can get them playing as hard as they can. I can teach them that. I can encourage them. I can build them up. I can make them think that that they can take on the world. Are you going to be that guy? You should be that guy. But if you're going to be a transformational coach, you have to be intentional about it and plan it out ahead of time, not just let it happen by accident. I know I thought I was doing that. I was letting it happen by accident a lot of times. But if you make plans to be transformational, you set up different things in your practice, you can be transformational with these kids. You do have the time. We get 2 hours a night, 5 nights a week in the month of August, and once we start playing games, we get 4 nights or 4 practices, 2 hours. So I get 10 hours and then 8 hours with them. So I have a lot of time to be intentional about it. Hopefully you guys get that much practice time too. So make a plan for how you're going to be a transformational coach. Hopefully what we talk about today will help you along that way. That'll help you down that path, being a transformational coach. What legacy do you want to leave to your players? That's a big one. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, one of the things he says is that we want to live, to love, and to leave a legacy. Well, I understand now that I want to leave a legacy, okay? And I've been doing it for years. I didn't realize that I was. Now I'm intentional about leaving a legacy. I want my legacy to be in those players as they go forward in their life, and hopefully beyond their life. That's the plan that I'm putting into it. And I get kids, kids all the way from, I don't have them anymore after they're 12 years old. And I get them from 15 to 35 years old. They see me, they come up, they get a big smile on their face, they come up and give me a hug. So that's the kind of legacy I want to live. I want to leave that behind. And I don't think I have it elsewhere in this presentation, but something that I know to be a fact, people may forget what you say, they may forget what you did, but they always will remember how you made them feel. And what I realized was that these kids had a blast playing midget football, and I was their coach at the time that it happened, so they remember that time as a genuinely great time in their life. And I've been told that over and over. A lot of times that's the most fun I've ever had playing football, and other times it's been, that's the most fun I ever had in my life. So that's what you have a chance to leave that legacy, and the learning, the life lessons, I call it eternity lessons that I try and put in these kids. That legacy will go on long after you're gone. And hopefully one of these kids can come and coach, and they can leave that legacy with the next generation. That's the plan. So what legacy do you want to leave to your players? Now let's talk about the right goals and attitudes to have. Intentional use of my influence with these young lives. That's what I've been talking about. Be intentional about what you're doing to influence them beyond this football season. You're going to spend 3 months with them. Make that last the rest of their lives. Teach virtues through words and actions. Yes, we'll actually teach what a a lot of virtues are, courage, integrity, things like that. But they look at their coaches as role models, and you have to be an example of those virtues to them. They can't just get it from your talk. They have to see you walk the walk. And whether they see you out or just at practice, the way that you interact with them will let you know, or let them know, that your actions are what you say they're going to be, and they speak louder than words to them. So that's what you want to do, is not just through your words, but through your actions as well, how you live your life. We want to create men with high moral standards. Well, if I taught them to cheat in a game, if I taught them to hold, then how would I expect them to come out of this experience with higher moral standards than they came in with? If I tell them, hey, you can hold at this level, the referees won't call it, then what does that teach them morally? What does that teach them about their coach? Well, coach is all about high moral standards until it interferes with winning. And then he's okay with doing whatever it takes to win. So you can't do that. So we want to get them out of there with higher moral standards than they came in with. I only know one reference point for that, and that's the Bible. We want to teach life lessons through the sport of football. We want our kids to come out tough and competitive. If you're tough and competitive in football, then you can be that way in life. You can keep on interviewing when you can't hardly get a job, keep on doing interviews till you get one. Once you have your job, work hard to maintain it. So your toughness, I think mental toughness is developed from physical toughness. They're kind of tied together, and you really can't separate them. But you learn mental toughness through physical toughness, and then when you get out in the real world, that's where you learn that this mental toughness pays off. So we want to get some grit into our kids and be competitive too, so that they can be competitive in life as they go on through it. So we're going to teach them toughness and competition in football practice, not just games, but in football practice, so that can help them on through life. Create an environment they can't live without. Well, what do you mean by that? I mean, I want my practices to be so much fun that the kids can't wait to get to practice every night. I know I can't. I can't wait to get to practice, see my kids, take them through practice, and experience the practice with them. And I love to see smiles on their faces when we do certain things at practice that they didn't expect, that it's just something out of the ordinary for them. And that's the environment I want to create for them. That they can't wait to come to practice. Yeah, they know there's going to be some tough stuff at practice. They know that. But they also know they're going to have some fun at practice too. And coach, I don't have to dread seeing my coach, because he's not going to rip my head off every time I turn around. He's going to hold me accountable, but he's not going to rip my head off. You can do both, and you don't have to be one of those guys on the Friday Night Tights show. My whole practice setup, and where I started this a couple years ago, probably about 2008 was the year I really started putting it together. 2009 was when I had it going in full force. I knew that as I sat down and tried to plan this and take some stuff I learned from a book and put it into football practice, because it's not a book about football at all, my goal was to aim for the heart of the boy that's in these young men that we coach, aim for his heart and just to activate it. Turn it on so that he can't wait to come to practice, he can't wait to play football, he can't wait to see his coaches and do the stuff that he wants to do internally, what turns him on. And teach him to win with humility. We don't want a bunch of cocky kids when they leave the program. We want them to win with humility and lose with honor. You're gonna have times you go out there and you play your guts out, and you don't win. The other team was just more talented. They got a couple more breaks than you. You're not going to win every game. So I want my kids to be able to handle losing and learn from it. I don't want them to, they get upset, they cry, because we work really hard. So they do get upset about losing, and I try and tell them that, now if it's their fault, if they did play well, I'll let them know they did play well. I'm honest with them. But if we played our guts out, we lost a playoff game right before going to the championship last year. The other team went to the championship game, and we lost it. If we'd have scored one more extra point, we went into overtime in it. We get one more extra point in regulation, we win that ball game. We lost in overtime. And but my kids played their guts out, and I was so proud of them. I couldn't get on them. They were crying their eyes out, and I couldn't get on them. I wasn't going to. They did play as hard as they possibly could, and I was proud of them for it, and I told them that over and over. But win with humility. You know, shake the other team's hand. Don't be cocky in between plays. Don't talk. None of that. None of that. No trash talking. There's no trash talking on the game field with my teams. You'll see we do a little bit in practice, but that's got a purpose. We want to create a warrior mentality, and as we go through this, you'll understand more. And I do it a lot with words, and then we act it out in practice. So we want to create this warrior mentality that they're always a warrior. I reinforce it over and over so they learn. They learn that they're going to be a warrior. All right, I'm going to get a drink. So we've got these goals now that we want to get after, but we got to understand what we're shooting at. What is our target audience that we want to hit? We want to aim for that heart of that boy. That's our target audience. So we have to understand them better. Generally 6 to 12-year-old boys. Yep, that's where I'm at. What makes them tick? What are they thinking? What are they happy about? What are they sad about? What are they afraid of? What do they find fun? You know, what's fun to them? What's fun to me and you? Not fun to them. And what's fun to them, we probably find kind of boring. There's the other one. What are they afraid of? Big scary coach, shaved bald head, goatee, 350 pounds. They're probably scared of that guy. Okay, so you don't have to put any fear into them. They already got it, because they're not 18 years old. They're 8 years old. They have no testosterone in them. They're already scared to death of you. So you don't have to scare them. How can we engage their minds and their hearts? Because we want them to play in a game with all their mind and all their heart, as hard as they can possibly go. We want that to happen. So how do we go about making that happen? So I'm going to go over the stages of a man's life, which this comes from the book The Way of the Wild Heart by John Eldredge. So these are I'm going to review, go over them here a little bit so you understand where we're coming from, how we find our target audience. The beloved son stage is birth to 12 years old. He needs to be loved, notice the apple of his daddy's eye, and live in a world of safety, knowing that he need not fear the outside world. He wants to be powerful. Okay? This little guy sees all the big guys, and he wants to be the big guys. He can't yet. It frustrates him. But he's also scared of a lot of things in his life. If he's got a dad there that is there to protect him, and he understands that dad's there to protect him, and he doesn't have to worry about anything like that, then that's a world where he can be free in. And he knows he's loved by his father. That is a world that he can grow up and be free in. He has to be loved by his dad. And a lot of times, we're that dad for him. The dad's not there. They don't have a male role model in their life. So we have to be that dad for them. The cowboy is the next stage. Starts somewhere in the 8-year-old range and goes on up to about age 22. Remember, these stages overlap, and you still have bits and pieces of them in all parts of your life. I also like to call it, that's kind of my name for it, the pre-warrior stage. He's testing out his future warrior abilities. He needs hard work and a king to lead him. He needs to be challenged, and we'll go over that. The warrior lover stage, that's when a lot of guys, this is when in the ancient Israelites would go to war. This is when you were that age, you would go to war. But you have to have the lover to balance the warrior. If you're purely a warrior, then you're just into bloodlust and all that, and that's not good for you. You need to balance, and you need the appreciation of nature, of women, of everything to balance the warrior stage. The king stage is now you've had experience of life behind you, and you're in charge of something. It could be small as just you, it could be your family, you could be a supervisor at work, maybe you have a little men's group you lead. It can also be a football team, which is what we're here about. Or you're president, right? You're an actual king. So that's the king stage. The sage stage is you're counted upon for your wisdom to the younger men and also to the kings. You're going to help out with the kings. You really probably have a lesser of a kingdom at this point in time, but your job is to give advice to the younger ones. And a lot of people, a lot of older guys opt out of this stage. They go and golf. So hopefully I don't choose to do that. I don't golf, so I don't have that part of it. So now we're going to concentrate on the first two stages with a little reference to the other stages. Obviously, the beloved son and cowboy stage is where our kids fall. So now we know a little bit about them. We're going to learn more about it. This is my second son when he was about 4 years old. So what's in his heart? You look at that little guy, what do you see? What's in his heart? You know, what does he want? He wants to be a hero. He longs to be powerful. That's the kind of thing that's in their heart. Why do you think all these kids are big into superheroes? They want to have that strength. They want to save the day. They want that to be that righteous person. And we're not there to scream and yell at him and tell him he can't be that person. You know, we don't want to be the one that puts him down or kills his heart. Don't be that coach. I don't want to be that coach. I want to be the one that encourages him, lifts him up. We need to give him the tools to be heroic. Okay? He wants to do this. He doesn't know how. So we have to instruct him how. We have to be the ones to lead him there. That's why there's always an apprentice to a master, and then there's or a mentor. You apprentice something before you learn it. So that's what he is. He's an apprentice man. So it's our job to give him the tools to be heroic. We need to give him the arena to be heroic in. Hey, football's built up for that. That's automatic. It's got an arena built right into it. There we go. So, in our practices, we'll give him an opportunity to be heroic too. It's our job to give him the cape and teach him to fly. He wants to be this guy. He wants to be that guy. Look at that. You want to break that little heart? Because that's what all the ones you've got on your team are. You know, you want to be that guy? Sorry, I don't want you coaching my kid. But it's our job to give him the cape and teach him to fly. Don't kill him. Don't kill his heart. Encourage it. Build it up. Send him on his way better than he came to you. This is the heart of the warrior. This is what we're after. This is the one we want to. This is the heart we're aiming for. So we want to take him. He wants to be a warrior. Let's teach him how. Beloved son stage, beloved son needs love, needs unconditional love, needs discipline. He needs to know where the limits are, and he has to stay within them, because he'll push you if you don't give him boundaries. They want a battle to fight. They like to think of themselves as powerful in a battle much larger than their immediate surroundings. That's a football team. The battle is the season. The battle is the games. You give them battles to fight. They want it. They live for that. Okay? They also want to be hugged, to be loved. So I don't have a problem hugging my kids at any point in time. I tell my kids it's always, a hug is always available from Coach Dave. It's up to you. You know, if you want a hug, come get it at any time. Get a lot of hugs after practice. That's usually what happens, and especially when they're muddy, they really like to get Coach Dave all muddy. Yeah, you're here for them, not them for you. It's not feeding your ego. That's not what we're here about. Okay, here's the theory about it. On day one, I think this is like the cornerstone of what I do with them. This is what I do in the first 15 minutes of the first practice I have. So this sets the tone for the whole season. I have an unconditional love speech that I give them. It only takes 5 to 10 minutes. I tell them that I am going to love them no matter what. No matter how much they screw up, no matter how bad they are, I'm going to love them. It just doesn't matter. And it's not just for this season, it's forever. And then I quote Hebrews 12:5 and 6, "My dear child, don't shrug off God's discipline, but don't be crushed by it either. It's the child he loves that he disciplines. The child that he embraces, he also corrects." So if I love you, the proof is I will discipline you. I will correct you. I won't let you be this running around crazy hellion that you see so many times at the mall. I won't let you be that person on this team. If I love you, this is the proof that I love you. I won't let you be that person. I also won't let you suck at football either. So we see that if I truly love you, I will correct you. I will make you get it right. We will keep correcting you over and over until you get it right. So don't be upset with that. This is the proof of our love. These kids need structure in practice. They need structure so that they understand the game better. And if you give them the same structure day in and day out, especially the youngest ones, they really are going to do well in that atmosphere, because these are the same kids that can watch the same video 20 times and not get bored. You're about to go out of your mind watching the same video for the 20th time, and they love it. So if you're changing up practice for a 6, 7, or 8-year-old, you're doing it for your own entertainment. I do change up practice for 10, 11, and 12s. Still the same drills. They understand what's going on in the drills. But they can handle a little more variety. And honestly, I am kind of bored, so I will do it. But they have to understand that your discipline and your love is the same thing. It's not two different things. It's the same thing. And that's what I say at the start of this. This right here is the bedrock of my program. Everything hinges on this right here. The unconditional love, and they know it, and I tell them that over and over. Here's the practical. We use titles. They will automatically respect us. On the first day, I give them 1 day of grace. They have to either call me Coach Dave or Sir, and all my assistant coaches, I introduce them to my assistant coaches, and they have to address them as Coach or Sir. So a proper answer is yes, sir, or no, sir. And I didn't used to be that guy. I didn't used to do this, and then I went to a clinic where we worked with the kids out on the field, and I saw that atmosphere, and I felt much better about it once I'd experienced it. I just thought I was this laid-back guy who, I was Dave. I wasn't Coach Dave. I was just Dave, and I didn't have to have that title to remind me that. What I didn't understand was that was kind of selfish. The kids need it. I didn't need it. They needed it. And so that's why I do it now. That's what I was telling you about. They don't mind doing it the same way because they get a feeling of mastery over it. If they know what's coming next, they feel better about it. They feel like they can master it. That's why you're here, you need to know your subject well, which is football, and teaching life lessons. You need to know your subject well so you can teach it well. That doesn't mean over-teach it. I've done that. I've done that to prove how great a coach I am. I've over-taught, but that's not what I'm talking about here. Correct often, aim for perfection. They have to understand, be coachable. I'm going to correct you a lot. Be in charge. Don't leave a power vacuum, but that doesn't mean to be an insecure, petulant prick. which so many coaches are. They figure the only way they can be powerful is to yell, scream, holler. That's not it. Make it fun. These kids don't even know if they like football, let alone love it. It's your job. You get them first. It's your job to teach them to love this sport. They should love this sport. It's your job to teach them to love it. By the time they get to high school, they've already played 7 or 8 years of football. A lot of the ones in our area have. Don't run them off before they understand what football is and teach them how to love it. This is a great opportunity for you to teach them how to love football. Yeah, that's what I just said, make them love it. Cowboy stage, Cowboy needs adventure. Football season, build in adventure. Practices, games, build in adventure. Hard work. Everybody here knows that you can't play a football game without working hard. So this is perfect for the Cowboy because he needs to learn how to work hard. He's never known how to work hard. 6 and 7-year-olds don't know what hard work is. So when they're getting to the 9, 10, 11, 12 stage, they need to learn what hard work is. They have no clue how hard they can work. They have no idea. They need confidence building experiences. These are wins, I call them. I don't know what they need wins. You can set up wins. Set up drills, conditioning, things like that, that give them the opportunity to get a win. But don't make it so easy that they know they want, that it was a piece of cake. Don't do that. That's a false win. They won't appreciate that. They won't build them. This is an initiation into manhood at this time. That's what they need. That's what the Cowboy needs. He needs an initiation into manhood. Hey, football teaches you to stand up for yourself, teaches you to fight back. This is part of manhood. I frame their football season as a big adventure that they're going on together. And what I tell them is this isn't just a football season, this is an adventure. And you guys are writing the story of your adventure in this football season. So the pencil's in your hand and you got the whole season to write it. How are you going to write it? What kind of story are you going to write? Is it one that's memorable? Is it one that you're going to remember 30 years from now? What kind of story are you going to write? They've got to understand, just like you did, to be intentional about the season. They have to be too. Yep, that's up to them. But I also tell them that if they go to like a African safari, what do? What's the first thing you do? You get a guide. And that guide will lead you on the safari because you don't know where you're going, just like a football season. I tell them, I'm their guide. Hey, folks, hey, boys, I've done this 32 times. I know what a football season looks like. I'm your guide, and I hope that you follow what I tell you to do because it'll be at your peril that you don't. Just like a guide in Africa, you do the wrong thing, you're going to get eaten by a lion. So I can keep them on course. Hard work is conditioning. Start with a reasonable level, increase a little each day. After a few weeks, remind them what they did on day one. And I might mention it later. We do a lot of hill running a couple times a week, and we'll start out with 8 hills, and that'll be the first practice. And we build up to 20 to 25. Usually I figure 20's enough. After that, you're just running and you get no benefit from it. So I try not to go over 20, but we build up. And then as we're building up, weeks 2 down the road, after we started with 8, and I remind them, hey, you guys used to do only 8. Now you're doing 20. You have progressed. You have got some wins under your belt. I don't tell them that, but I explain to them how they've improved, and they can be proud of that. Give them stuff to be proud of without making it too easy. Yeah, all your conditioning should be to the age level. Make it challenging for them, and that's what I was talking about. Make drills challenging, but don't make them so hard they'll cry. These are little boys. You want to go up to the edge of that point. Well, sometimes you will have some of them cry. Sorry, you will. But don't make every one of them cry. Don't make it that miserable that they never want to come back. But don't make it so easy that it's just a win that doesn't count. Okay, I'm going to fix that slide. Yep. What you don't have here, what you need to understand is you don't have a bunch of 18-year-olds that are pumped up on testosterone, and when you yell at them, it brings up the hackles on the back of their neck, and they want to accept your challenge and fight back. You don't have that. You got kids without any testosterone. They don't get that till around 12 or 13, and that's just to start to trickle in there. That's when you can change your tactics just a little bit. But I still think these tactics work all the way through. Yep, you got to build the confidence up in them, because that's what you have is a bunch of scared little boys right now. You need to accept that fact and work with it instead of denying it. Think of it as you're building a wall out of bricks. And you're building this wall, it's called a confidence wall. And you're trying to, you put little confidence wins in, and then you build this wall up inside of them. And then later on, they've got something in them that they're confident in. They go out there and play a football game with all they've got because they have confidence. If all you did was tear them down and tear them down and tear them down, they're still that same scared little boy when they get out there to play a football game. They're scared of the other team. They don't have the confidence because you didn't give them a bunch of wins in practice against tough kids. You didn't build that confidence wall in them. So come game day, you're going to have to live with it. And if you tell them the other team hits hard, they hit so hard they're going to knock your teeth out, you're not challenging them, you're scaring them to death. I know, I've had other coaches tell me that they've done this to their kids because my team has a reputation of hitting really hard. So, and that's why I tell the kids, our goal, two of our biggest goals, to out-hit and out-hustle everybody in the league. And so we have that reputation in the league. So these other coaches tell them, their kids about it. Don't tell your kids that. You just lost the ball game. You literally just lost the ball game. I've watched kids on teams on tape playing us that could be as good as us or better, more talent than us. I've watched them turn and run from us. I mean, you see it happen because their coach told them that to be afraid of us. They didn't have the testosterone to accept the challenge. They believe you. What is the warrior heart? This is something that a theme that I have and that I push. I teach that God has placed a warrior heart in each and every one of them. And it's my job through the sport of football to strengthen, test, and develop their warrior heart. Reinforce the warrior message every night through a prayer, a chant, and a prayer. We do this every night. We do the same one over and over and over. And so we get to hear the same thing about how I'm a warrior every night. And this is, that's what we do before every practice. We do the same thing. And this is the prayer we do right after that. What we just did there was, good evening, warriors. And they say, good evening, coach. And I say, what's our job? And they say, to love us. I say, what's your job? And they say, to love each other. I say, what are we doing here tonight? And they say, preparing for battle, sir. So already we're putting the warrior mentality in it. I'm reminding them that I love them, and I'm reminding them that they're warriors, and then our prayer does the same thing. I say, the Lord is a warrior, the Lord is his name. God created me in his image. They repeat these after me. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Lord, thank you for giving me a warrior heart. I say that, they repeat it. So here we see that the Lord is a warrior. Okay, the Lord is a warrior. The Bible tells me that. Here's where it's at. God created me in his image. Okay, well, if God is a warrior and I am created in his image, then I'm a warrior. I hear this over and over and over and over every night. And we're talking to God while we do this. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. More saying that God will help me. I can do it if I put God in my life. I can accomplish these things. Then I say, Lord, thank you for giving me a warrior heart, kind of a wrap up of reminding me that I have a warrior heart. They hear it every night. They pray it every night. So they get it. They hear it, they see it, they get it. And this is a shirt I give out every day, I give out a shirt like this to only the ones that earn it. Only the ones that earn this get this shirt. This is not a gift that just by being on the team that year, you got one of these. So this is what's on the back of it, and it says on the front, it says, I have a warrior heart. These kids cherish these shirts. They work their butts off for these shirts. And it's a big part of our program. There's kids that wear them, clear up into high school at times. And some of them have actually framed their shirts. Others just cut the sleeves out and wear it under their pads. You never know what they're going to do with them. But this is part of the program. I had that made up a few years ago, specifically for our program. And play that real quick for you. On game day, we say going into battle. Yeah, we do going into battle instead of preparing for battle. God created me in his image. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Lord, thanks for giving me a warrior heart. Lord, thanks for giving me a warrior heart. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to come out. That's about 50 minutes. That's the first quote. Okay. All right. Start into the second part. That took 50 minutes right there. All right, I have talks with the kids. I have 2 to 3 minute speeches worked up for water breaks. Kids love the stories. They do. I do a lot of different things. Talk about different virtues, responsibility, integrity, courage, commitment, teamwork, respect. And guys, you're going to have water breaks anyway. So go ahead and use them. You don't have to use every one. It doesn't have to be at every water break. But have some little speeches worked up for 2 or 3 minutes. I've made the mistake of going 15 minutes before. I won't do that again. And I tell you, don't ramble on. But I have different ones that I talk about. I also talk about things like, why would a good God allow suffering in the world? And we discussed that too. I'll explain that stuff to them. Tell stories that emphasize these virtues or other virtues. And I like to use the Bible stories. I use some from my own life and other stories. You know, you can tell Teddy Roosevelt stories and things like that. It's up to you what you use. But there's plenty of examples of this in the Bible. Just go through the life of David to King David, and you got some there. Show how the character in the story used his warrior heart to overcome the obstacle, so that they can understand that they can overcome the obstacles in front of them through using their warrior heart. Okay? Yeah, and that's the other one. I've known coaches, and I've heard of other coaches that did this. Don't drone on and on and on about your glory days and what you did 30 years ago and how awesome a running back you were and how you ran for 50,000 yards or whatever. Have your talk, then get back to practice. Make your practices fun and enjoyable. One of the talks that I think sets up the stage for the rest of the things is when I talk about the sword. I give the sword talk. Football is a battle between warriors. Warriors have weapons. Our weapon is a sword. That's the one we've chosen. You see it in our shirt, the emblem on our shirt. So that kind of sets it up for this. Our players, I teach them that their sword, their weapon is their body. They go into a football game, they're going to hit the other guy with their body. So the weapon they use in a game is their body. We coaches temper it and shape it and make it harder. And I teach them how the old way a sword is made and how you put it in the forge and you make it hot. And you bring it back out and you pound it into shape and then you put it back in there and you make it hot again, you pound it into shape, and how it tempers the sword and makes it harder. Teach them all about that. And I want them to understand that we are the coaches, we are doing this to them. This is conditioning, this is stances, this is firing out, hit your opponent. We're taking you and putting you in that forge over and over, and we're shaping your body and your mind to play the game of football. So that's what we teach them their sword is. Proverbs 27:17 says, as iron sharpens iron, one man sharpens another. So I teach them, yeah, we make their sword hard and ready for battle, but they sharpen each other's swords. The competition in practice, they learn that they're making each other better. They figure that out. They don't take plays off, or at least not too many. They don't take times off in drills because they understand they're making each other better. With everything they do, they're making each other better. So they love this concept that they sharpen each other's swords. They get it, they do it. So I like to pound that one home. I'll remind them that over and over. How do we want our practice to be? We want it to be tough, competitive, focused, intense, and fun. How do you do that? How do you do all that, Coach? I don't know. During games, teams lose focus and are on a roller coaster ride with intensity. I see this, everybody we play. Their kids go up and down. You know, they start out high and then they kind of go to their normal level. They'll start out all jacked up because Coach just gave them a pregame speech, and then they'll kind of drift off and play their normal practice level. Then after the start of the second half, whoop, got another speech, and we're going back to where we normally are. So these kids are doing this with their intensity and focus the whole game long. And I tell my kids, we can't do that. We want to be intense and focused the whole game long. And you do play like you practice. You will get on game day the team you created in practice. You created that team you see on game day. If you don't like the product that you see on the field, well, it's your fault. Nobody else's. So you can create a better team on game day. Practice makes, not perfect, Practice makes permanent. So, and I teach this one to my kids. Practice makes permanent. If you practice something wrong 100 times, well, guess what? You now permanently know how to do this thing wrong. So practice does not make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. I actually had a kid raise his hand in school one day when the teacher said practice makes perfect, and he jumped up, no, teacher, no it doesn't. And he taught her the lesson that I taught him, and she agreed. Perfect practice makes perfect. So you as coaches, teach them to get it right. Don't be a prick about it, but you can teach them to get it right and make them understand that they have to be coachable and you have to be able to make these corrections, and that's you loving them, okay? So perfect practice makes perfect. How do you practice all of these things we're talking about? How do you do that? Number one thing, don't scrimmage so much, okay? This is a typical youth practice is this. We come to practice, we go out there and we do some jumping jacks, and we do a few calisthenics, and maybe we do some agilities, and then that's probably 20 minutes. We go get a water break, and then we come back out and we line up a line this way from here to eternity, and there another line over there, and we have 2 kids, and they hit and tackle. Or as I see on Friday Night Tykes, they run around the group and they come in and tackle. Okay, now we've done the whole team. We wasted all this time because 2 kids are getting activity while the rest of them are standing and watching. And that's not a very efficient practice. So they do that for about 20 minutes. Get another water break, and now we scrimmage. Now we scrimmage for the last hour to hour and a half of practice. And we have our first stringers, and we have our second stringers. And we get, or maybe third stringers, as I have a lot of years. I have first stringers and third stringers, no second stringers. And what happens in this practice is you get your best players, and he's up there and he goes to block this much lesser player. Well, so for the next hour, while you're taking 5 minutes to describe a play to them in the huddle, then they come back up to the line and they block this kid that is no challenge for him whatsoever. They block him play after play after play after play. No challenge for him at all. He doesn't grow, that kid doesn't grow. That kid learns how he hates practice and hates getting his butt kicked every night, and this kid gets no work. He gets to shove somebody that gives him no resistance. Now, what happens a lot of times in this is this little guy, he decides, I'm tired of this, I'm going to make a deal with the big guy, and I'm just going to I'm telling him, I'll let you shove me all over the place. Coach ain't going to yell at me. He doesn't expect anything out of me. So, and he's going to yell at you if you don't shove me all over the place and I make a tackle. So let's make a deal. I'll let you shove me all over the place all night long. So who gains out of this? Nobody. Nobody gains in this situation. And you're wasting practice time because you're drawing plays in the dirt over here, and you're running one probably every 5 minutes. If you're lucky, you're running one every 3 minutes. And then before you know it, practice is over and you probably ran 25 plays and nobody gained a thing. You have programmed a low level of intensity into these kids. They do this night after night after night. And what have they got? And then you expect on game day for them to be these, these barn burners. Well, they can't be. They don't know what that is. They don't know what that intensity level is. They've never experienced it. All they've ever experienced is shoving a little guy around, okay? You programmed it into them. Don't be that coach. Don't be that lazy, okay? So you got on game day what you practiced, just like I said. Drilling groups. If you want them to compete on game day, compete in the drill. Split them into size, experience, appropriate groups. Closer to their own size creates the best chance for growth. So with our practice, what we'll do is we'll create 4 groups usually, sometimes 3. But I'll have group 1, that's my best players. That's the ones that match up the best with each other. Group 2 is the second tier players. They're not quite as good as those guys, and they can compete against each other and make each other better. Group 3, group 4. Group 4 is obviously the worst players we have, and for them to grow, they're going to need to be in that group so that they can get better. Now, you can graduate and move up a group, And you can get demoted. If I find out you really belong in group 2, you go to group 3. And I've had group 4 kids end up in group 2 by the end of the season. So if you do all your drills with these groups and they've got kids that are the same age, weight, size, experience level with them, then they get better. They improve from week to week instead of getting worse. So have competitions in there. And a lot of my kids, they understand the sharpen each other's sword, they get it. And so a lot of times, like in our board drills, which I'll explain later, my 2 best players will constantly make sure that they match each other, they match up with each other every time so that they get better. It's a great thing. They catch on, they do it automatically. There are some, you're going to teach skills. You're going to have to teach stances, starts, blocking techniques, ball carrying techniques, how to run plays, how to rep plays. Obviously you have drills with a little less intensity and it's a little more learning. But space those out. Don't just, and I'm so guilty of this, I love to stand and talk and teach the whole defense because I love to teach. So I want to stand in front of them just like this. And so I stand in front of them and I teach them the whole defense. Well, a lot of them are just, if that's not their position, then they're asleep by the time I get to them. But make it fun while they're doing it, but keep their little skill drills fast-paced and focused. There won't be any competition in them, but then mix some competition drills in between. And in every drill, demand their best. All right, you misstepped over here, let's do it again. You misstepped over there, let's do it again. And pat them on the back, say, hey, don't worry about it. You're going to get this. I trust, I believe in you. You're going to do this. Don't get frustrated. Have some fun with them, but also love them. Don't be sarcastic. I struggle with this because the English language is my second language. Sarcasm is my first language. So I struggle. Little kids, they don't understand sarcasm. They don't get it. And if they do get it, it tears them down. So sarcasm is not a good motivational tool. All right, conditioning builds toughness. This is what I was telling you a little bit about the hills earlier. And while we're doing the hills, I'll talk to the kids. They'll do a set of 5. And then I'll give them a breather and I'll say something to them. I'll tell them a quick little story. But I say, a lot of times I say, fatigue makes cowards of us all, which is an old Vince Lombardi saying. And what it means is that if you're in the 4th quarter and you're tired and that's all you can think about is, I'm tired, you're going to give up. You're going to give up and you're going to get beat because you no longer care about trying to win this ball game. All you care about is going home. So fatigue made a coward of you in that instance. That's what I'm talking about. So fatigue does make cowards of us all at some point. We all get too tired and we just want to go home. So I make my kids aware of that, and they see it in the other teams. They see it in the other players we play against. They totally get it. And then I get every opportunity I can, when I see it happening, I make them aware of it and remind them. And then next time they come to practice, they're ready to run those hills. They know it's going to pay off. We do one called Circle of Integrity. I think it's called Enduro, by like Jack Gregory and some of the others. You just get in a big circle and you just do constant exercises. It's nice if you have somebody in the middle that can lead it, like a young coach that's really in great shape. I've had that at times, and at times I just stand there and tell them what their next exercise is. You can do jumping jacks and then push-ups and then windmills and mountain climbers, just whatever you could think of it, they can do in place. And then when we're not doing anything, they're standing here with they're doing high knees. That's their stationary position. That's their fallback position. So I call it Circle of Integrity because I tell them it's your integrity that keeps you going through this. And a coach can't watch you and be on you all the time. Then we do sprints, and our agilities are actually kind of hard. So we do sprints at the end of practice like everybody else in the world. We do relay sprints so that they kind of do it on their own. But these conditioning builds toughness. Toughness is part of what we want. You have to allow some time for it. I know some of these coaches don't do any conditioning. They try and do it all in their drills. I tried that for a while. I really didn't fall in that category. I tried, I couldn't get it to work. We were not in good enough shape to play the games. So I went back to this. Essential drills, these are what I call the ones that I count on. Our board drills with music, this is where we build our physicality. Board drills are just, I mean, typically you lay out boards and you try and drive the other guy back off the board, and the board teaches you to keep your feet wide while you're driving. I did away with the boards because slipping on them and having kids shoved onto them and hurting them, I just find I can be more effective without the actual boards, and we can still teach blocking, but we only start a foot and a half apart, just like you would in a game, and we fire out against each other, and I let them go for 7 seconds. And so we've got group 1, 2, 3, 4, all going at the same time. We all do it together. And yeah, we play, we play music. I call it Metallica boards because we play heavy metal, hard rock music while they're doing it. So they'll be getting in line, and they're coming up there, you can see their head bob, and they're ready to go the next time they come up there. And it's a proven fact that music helps you with anything physical. So that's why you see people jogging with their ear pods in, and that's also why you're not allowed to have music, ear pods or anything in the Olympics. When you're sprinting and all that, you can't have that. Long distance running, you can't have that because they know the advantage it gives you. So why not use it? The way I discovered this was one day I'm driving at work, and I was thinking about practice. Well, I had Metallica CD playing in the truck I was driving, and as I'm thinking about practice, I'm getting all jacked up. I can't wait to get to practice that night, and the music was doing it to me. I thought, wait a second, those kids out there are just little bees. If this is doing this for me, what would it do for them? And so that was how it was born for me. I bring a boombox to practice. It's an old style boombox, got a CD in it with songs that I like, and you got to be careful what you play at practice. You don't want any cussing or anything like that in the music. And the extracurricular activity encouraged, if they drive the other kid back, I actually tell them to fall on, do a little headbutt and I don't tell them to punch, a little bit extra with the arm or shoulder pad. Make that guy on the bottom think, this losing sucks. I'm going to come back harder the next time. I'm going to give it more effort the next time because I don't like this. So that's the extracurricular activity. You kind of got to watch with that. But they understand, they learn, and they learn to do it, and then they learn to help each other up and get, high-five each other, get back in line, do it over again. They understand that they are making each other better. They're sharpening each other's swords. They get that. So they understand there's nothing personal about that extracurricular activity. Power hour is another essential drill. The problem is it's so intense that I can only do it once a week, and I can't do it every week. But it is really an intense drill. I'm going to show you a video of some of these things a little bit later. We do it first string O, second string B. So this is that scrimmage I was telling you about. Well, you have to scrimmage some so the kids can see the game of football. But how do you make this scrimmage intense so that when they get into a game, they play as hard as they can on every play? Well, since we run the double wing offense and off-tackle power is our big play, we run that in practice against the second string. Offense, defense, both know the play. They know right where it's coming. The whole defense knows exactly what's going to happen on that play. They've repped that play. So they know where it's coming. We do it fast-paced. As soon as we're done with the last play, you get your punishment done, and you get back on the line of scrimmage, and we're calling it, and we're going again. The offense has to get 10 yards, or they do 10 push-ups. The loser does push-ups. If the defense does, or if the offense does get 10 yards, then the defense does 5 push-ups. You didn't really expect them to win anyway, so why punish them the same amount? So I don't. So the defense only has to do 5. The offense, which is really what you're trying to develop in this drill, is your offense intensity, how hard to play in a game, then they have to do more. And so they get tired of doing these push-ups, and so they up the intensity. They're gonna make sure they get that guy blocked. They're gonna make sure that they block 2 or 3 guys. Nah, I don't want them to do that. But they're gonna get their blocking right. They're gonna start talking to each other, and they're gonna start hustling, going at it harder and harder and harder, and that's what we want. And this is, taunting is allowed. So while they're doing their punishment push-ups, this happened kind of organically, as a lot of things happen in my team. The kids start doing something, and I figure out, hey, wait a second, that's a good idea, let's do that. And so we start doing it on purpose. Well, one night, one of the boys, they had gotten into it with the others as far as intensity-wise, and so he went over and started getting on this one while he was doing his push-ups. And I went, hey, that's a good idea. That'll increase the intensity. And so we allow them and actually encourage them to taunt each other while they're doing their punishment push-ups. So this builds a new level of intensity to it. And I play music while we're doing this. And hopefully that adds a little bit to the chaos. And so this is just repetitive, high energy. I'm telling them to get back up on the line, let's get it going, get up off the ground. I'll make a couple of corrections. You know, maybe somebody didn't block the right guy if I caught it. But mostly this is about the intensity. It's less about technique and more about intensity. And so we'll do this over and over. We'll do power to the right, which for us is 24 superpower, and we'll do it maybe 10 times. And then we'll do power to the left, and we'll reset the defense. Now, if our offense is beating the defense really easy that night, if I have extra bodies, we'll take them and put them out there. We'll maybe take the backside corner, which isn't going to do much of anything, bring him over here, set him to where, okay, we can't block them all. The running back has to run over a few of them, has to, okay? I don't ask these little guys to do much during the rest of practice as far as going up against the big guys, because we don't scrimmage all the time. And they stay in their own group for all their development drills. So at this point, I'm asking them to try and tackle these guys. Sometimes they can't, sometimes they just run away. But it gives our running backs a lot more. So if they know they're going to come up in that hole and they're going to have to run over somebody, well then when they run this thing in the game, buddy, they're ready to run over somebody. Now what I do is this does get the kids mad at each other. Okay, a little bit of anger going on here. I don't encourage ever making a kid angry to motivate them. I don't ever encourage making them angry, because that's, the Bible teaches against that. You know, I never ever mention revenge. Even if we played a team earlier in the season and we lost to them, we played them in the playoffs, I don't talk about revenge, because I think that is something that should not be in your heart. But what I do is I use their anger to motivate them to get the intensity level up this time. Then I explain to them after we get done with power hour, usually only lasts about 15, 20 minutes. I explain to them, I did this to you on purpose. This was to show you the level of intensity you're capable of. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to come out here and play this intensely every time you play on your own, because you now know you can do it. See, these kids have never been pushed this far. You have to push them to a new level of where they're uncomfortable. They've never seen this level before. They have to become uncomfortable, and they have to go into this new range that you've pushed them into. Well, I didn't scream at them, I didn't holler at them. I pushed them into this gently. I did it all along, but I encourage, sometimes I encourage very enthusiastically, we'll say. This is another drill. I got at a Glacier Clinic a few years ago. I got Bronco. Okay, Bronco is this side of it. You do 3 levels. You got a defender and an offense, a defender and a blocker, defender and a blocker, defender and a blocker. Okay, and you have a ball carrier. Normally your cones are right here, and your ball carrier tries to run up through here. This guy tries to block him. He gets off the block, tries to make the tackle, and the same thing all down the line. You do your linemen here at this level, linebackers, running backs here, some defensive ends. Do your defensive ends at this level, because they should be standing up. Unless you have down defensive ends, that's fine. And your DBs go at this level. And what you can do is you make sure that you're pairing up the right kids with the right kids. And you can have your extra kids over here off to the side, and they'll rotate through like this, be on defense, then offense, then back out, then be on, and you can rotate them through like this. Now one night I was short of coaches and short of a few kids, so instead of breaking up into 2 groups and doing this, I would take groups 1 and 2 and do one Bronco drill, groups 3 and 4 and do another Bronco drill. What I did was I threw us all into one. I had a coach at each of the levels and one ball carrier. And this turned out to be so much more intense and so much like football, because this ball carrier has to weave his way up through here, and most of the time he gets tackled somewhere here. And then your defenders end up taking on good blockers, bad blockers, but you can still separate and keep like your good ones on this side and your lesser ones on this side, so that you're still getting the competition level you want. But they get to compete in a real world environment, kind of like a football game, not exactly, but it's going to develop a lot more intensity. Again, this is such an intense drill for us that I have a hard time doing it. I would love to be able to do this at least twice a week. Can't do it. It's too intense. The kids hit too hard in this drill, and so I have to cut it back. I didn't want to. I love this drill. But those 3, the board drills, which we do a lot because since they're only a foot and a half apart, it's not that big a deal. Power hour teaches them an intensity level they've never seen before. Bronco, Super Bronco just kind of works with that intensity level, takes it up a notch too, lets you play defense with your starters too. Ways to make it fun. Every night of practice, for about 10 or 15 minutes, we have a fun drill. And Deer Hunter, that's a version of dodgeball. Sumo is sumo wrestling. We make a big circle and we sumo wrestle, and we go with the lesser players clear up to the winner. And sometimes I have fun with them, and the winner gets a challenge, like he has to take on 3 of them in sumo or something like that. I always make it harder than it ever was. Hurricane, which I've got some video of, is the most fun game. It's a very competitive game, and I think it's the most fun to do. You got 2 defenders, ball carrier, and a defender, and you have a big circle of kids, and the defender has 12 seconds. These 2 blockers have shields. You want to use shields because it'll get too violent if you don't. And originally, you had 12 seconds for the defender to catch and touch the ball carrier. The other's blocking him. Well, we took it to the point where we're now tackling the ball carrier. If he doesn't tackle him within the 12 seconds, then the team doesn't get the point. Tug of war, I don't do too much. Just don't have the rope, and it's also hard on their hands. Love it though. Run through the jungle, which is a gauntlet drill. The whole team lines up side by side, and they have to run all the way through, and everybody puts a shot on him as he's going through. Do that with music. We actually play the song Welcome to the Jungle when we're doing it. We just call it Jungle Now. Tea time is a Dave Potter drill. That is a tackling drill, and I usually like to do it in 2 groups so we get more reps. But these are more hitting drills. This is more of a pursuit drill. This one that is just for fun. Deer Hunter, since it's kind of a dodgeball, it's more of a conditioning thing. But what it also teaches as a men is you're on a stage. Yeah, they're having fun. They don't even know that they're learning these other lessons. They're out there one-on-one in front of the whole team. They're on a stage. Winner stays on. So it's a competition. They're learning to compete, and they're learning how to be on a stage. They don't know they're learning that. I know they're learning that. They're just having fun. King of the boards is where you just do board drills, but you start out with your lesser players and you work your way all the way to the top. I don't do this all the time because it takes probably 15 minutes or more. And you just winner stays on. But what is great about King of the Boards is, especially if your parents are watching, it teaches them what the pecking order is on the team. The kids know it. The kids know the pecking order. And when you go outside the pecking order to put starters out there, then you'll poison your team. And I just mentioned about the music, and that my little motto with that is life is better with a soundtrack. So every music, hey, what would Rocky be without the song? Really, wouldn't be nearly as good a movie without the song that goes along with it. Name your drills with cool names, you know, cage fight, super tough. Give them names that the kids will think, oh, that's awesome. Mix it up, learning drills, conditioning drills, rep plays. A lot of times when we rep plays, we'll do the same play over and over. We run a double wing offense, so we really want to know our base plays. We'll put balls out there 10 yards apart. We'll rep a play, we'll run to the next ball. We'll rep a play, we'll run to the next ball, and we'll kind of get a little bit of conditioning in with our repping. And also we learn to move to the ball the next time we come out of the huddle. But you know, like a conditioning drill, team pursuit drill, if you do it right, it's a good conditioning drill. Their tongues will be dragging in about 10 minutes. So mix up your learning drills, because if you have learning drill, they're going to be bored out of their mind. So mix them up. More ways to make it fun. Make drills competitive, declare a winner and a loser. We do that in Hurricane. Oh, I didn't say the winner of Hurricane, the team, we picked 2 teams, or we picked 2 captains, and the captains picked their teams. The losers bear crawl back to water area. The winners, I tell them they're allowed to strut back. So punish the loser, reward the winner. You could even take like a tire flipping drill, and if you were to track it, you could have, okay, one night in 5 minutes, kid A flipped the tire 15 times, and the next night he flipped it 20 times, and the next night 25. You can make him compete against himself, or let him compete against the other guys, have a race. I mean, it's however you can put competition in there, you do it. Make drills just a little more wicked than they originally designed, like our board drills where we let them get on each other, they knock them down. And deer hunter, we play deer hunter with footballs because it stings. Okay, if you play with playground balls, it doesn't hurt so much. We play with footballs, and they have helmets on, so headshots are legal, and they're allowed, and they got pads everywhere else, so they just go after each other. And I've never had an injury from the football. Did have 2 kids run smack into each other one year, and they were out for a little bit, but thank goodness we had our pads on, and so they didn't get hurt real bad. But I want deer hunter to be a conditioning drill, so we even have what we call a gate. We let them out of the drill, and they can come back in. They run, about 40 yards and then come back, and they're allowed back in the drill. And so you learn a lot through deer hunter, who your players are. We have a fun game day ritual. After we do our chant and our prayer in the locker room, then I turn the lights out, and on our boombox play the Metallica song All Nightmare Long in the dark. And those kids just love it. Listen to the song, imagine yourself in the dark, you'll see what I mean. And they are jacked up when they come out of that locker room. And it's fun. It's fun, and all it took was just a little bit of effort on your part. And it's memories that they will remember for the rest of their life. Before I go on with I want to go over one memory. Happened this year. It was just awesome. God delivered it. I was smart enough to go along with it. Our Saturday morning practices, we do special teams. Kickoff, kick return, extra point kick. We don't punt much. We might practice it. If we do a punt return, we practice a little bit in case somebody else punts. But my quarterback forgot his shoes, forgot his cleats. He had a tendency to wear his slippers to practice, then put his cleats on at practice, then after practice take his cleats off, put his slippers back on, and go home. Well, he came without his cleats, and he said, "Coach, I don't have my spikes, don't know what to do." I said, "Well, it kind of sucks for you, buddy, because you're going to have to go through practice barefoot." And he come out there for the kickoff team. That's the first thing we do. And he come out there for the kickoff, and he was barefoot. And I looked around, and I'm like, man, he's going to get just cleated everywhere, and it's going to hurt. So I made a joke. I said, "All right, everybody, we'll just all go barefoot in honor of him forgetting his cleats. We'll all go barefoot." Well, a couple of them thought it was hysterical, and they were wanting to do it. And so I went, "Why not?" It was going to be a little bit drizzly that day, and so we all took our shoes off, put them over on the track, and we did the rest of our whole football practice barefoot. Now, those kids will remember that the rest of their lives. Okay, so make memories with these kids when you get the opportunity. Just like the All Nightmare Long, these kids remember that their whole life. Do reward them for good effort. Praise effort. I just saw this, there was a study done, praising effort is a whole lot more effective than praising intelligence or talent. Don't praise them for their talent. Praise them for how hard they work. That'll make them want to work harder. The ones that were praised for their intelligence, they wanted the easy way out. Don't praise them for their intelligence. Don't praise them for their talent. They'll choose the easy path out to keep impressing you. Okay? Praise them for their effort. They'll choose the harder path every time, and that's what you want. I was doing this and I didn't understand it. Didn't know it was that big a deal. Praise execution. When they get it right, brag on them. Because it was a lot of hard work for them to get it right. Tell them how much effort they put into it to get the execution of that play or that defense or that technique right. Praise them for that. Expect perfection. Shoot for 100%. My dad always said, shoot for 100%, and if you end up with an 80 or a 90, you still did pretty good. But if you shoot for a 80 or a 90, and you end up with a 60 or a 70, not so much. So shoot for 100% with these guys. They're capable of it. Don't be afraid of it. Be on them constantly, but positively. I encourage constantly. Be an energetic coach. If you want an energetic team, you have to be an energetic coach. You have to be the one with passion, getting in there, showing them how to do it. When they see my hat turn around backwards, they know coach is getting in the drill, and this isn't going to be good for somebody. Somebody's going to end up on their butt. But they get excited about it too. They know coach is serious about it. And they want you to be serious about it because they want to be serious about it. So you need to do that for them. That's what coach with passion and confidence. Love what you do. If you don't love doing this, you shouldn't be doing this because you're not helping them out. That was, I got to coach under a very good coach. Taught me a lot as a youth coach. But what I learned most from him was the passion for the game. He taught with so much passion. That guy wanted to win, and he taught hard, and I loved it. And I learned that was the important, and that was one of the biggest things. He had discipline too. Be a high energy coach, just like I said. Don't be one of them coaches where, yep, next, yep, next. How can you expect your kids to practice and play with intensity if that's who you are as a coach? You can't expect out of them what you won't put into it. Don't do. Don't embarrass them ever. The exercise that I talk about here is like, I'm going to be doing this clinic 20 years from now. Hopefully I'm still alive 20 years. And there's going to be kids that you coached in this room taking this clinic. Okay? Now, what I want you to think about is, well, let's start with this. Think about, back through your life, think about a coach or a mentor or somebody that encouraged you. Think of that person in your head. Okay, you got it? Now think of somebody that put you down. Somebody that was always down on you and just wouldn't ever let you up. Think of that person. Okay, you got it? Now, 20 years from now, when these kids that you coach right now are in this room and they're wanting to be coaches, I'm going to ask them the same question. Do you want to be, which of those two coaches do you want to be in their mind? Do you want to be that one that encouraged them? Or do you want to be that one that put them down all the time? That's what you want to understand. Don't embarrass these kids. Don't do that to them. Don't play favorites. I tell the parents, I have favorites, but a lot of times their favorites are standing on the sidelines talking to me during the game. I play the best players, the ones that earned the spots out there. Don't play somebody because he's so-and-so's son, or he's your son. Don't play me for those reasons. I've had many assistant coaches that their kids never started for me. They knew the deal. Their kids have to earn their spot on the field just like everybody else. Everybody gets to play, minimum play rule, but that's not the time on the field. And daddy ball kills teams. Don't play your kid at quarterback if he's not the best player for that. I've seen it happen. I've been on teams when I was an assistant coach. It happened too, and it ruins, you poison the team with that. So don't play your kid there. If your kid is a second string tackle, then he's the second string tackle. I had 2 sons that played. One of them was a quarterback running back / defensive back. That's what he played in high school. I had another son that was a defensive end and a center for me. Well, high school he played defensive end and center. Those are where they belonged for me. Well, it turns out that's where they belong in football their whole life. Don't be a daddy baller. And don't allow your players and assistant coaches to poison the team. I do an exercise where I teach them, I call it the poison lesson, and I have a jug of water, and I show them that this is the team spirit, and everybody's going to be drinking from it. And so if you brag on each other, and I give them some examples, and I pour some water into the jug and drink again and say, then I feel good, I feel like I can play harder. That's the team spirit, you're building it up. Then I say, oh, well, little Johnny over there, he's not playing hard, so I'm not going to play hard. And I take some food coloring and I drop it into the bottle and I let them watch the food coloring go throughout all the water. And I say, poison. And I give them a couple more examples of bad attitudes. The bad attitudes are the poison. And you drop a few of them in there, you swish it around, you see how it spreads throughout the team and the team spirit. Then I'll take a drink of it and I'll talk about how sick my stomach is and which one are you bringing to the team? Are you bringing enthusiasm, encouragement? Are you making the team better? Are you strengthening the team spirit? Or are you the poison? That really hits home with them. I had a team in 2008 that had a lot of poison on it, and that was when I developed that lesson, and I've been teaching it ever since. A lot of teams I didn't need to. But actually, the way I'm coaching now, this stuff, I hardly have any troublemakers on the team anymore. Teamwork, 22 players, 1 football. What's the chances you're the one carrying that football? If there's 22 players on the field at that time and there's 1 football, what's the chances you're carrying the football or you're passing the football? Not very good. Statistically, really low, less than 5%. So, your reward for your effort and your talent comes with playing time. Doesn't matter what position, I'll put you at the position you belong at, not the one, you don't earn to be a running back, you don't earn a chance to be a running back. You do it by showing me your talent, but where you fit on the team is what matters. Playing time is what you earn. Every position is important, and I give an example of how we couldn't have 5 arms. It's a good thing we only have 2. It's a good thing we have 2 eyes, and we don't have eyes back here. And so I explained to them how every body part is important and how they're all different and how they come together to make your body. And so, same as a team. It turned out to, this way of coaching, it turned out to change the culture of our team. I didn't have that in mind when I started this, but it was the end effect. And I've actually found out from talking to parents that a lot of times that changed boy comes home and he starts changing his family. And I've had parents come tell me that the way that I'm doing this isn't just changing their kids, it's changing them too. So that is way more than I ever expected. Did not have a clue about that. That wasn't my goal, but it is a bonus. So this will change the culture of your team, I promise you. You go out game day, now that you've built all this foundation in them, a little bit of speech, you're ready to go. You're ready to fly. You built the engine, now you get to start it. Well, if all you did was all those scrimmages I was talking about, you get out there on game day, you give them this big speech, well, you're cranking the starter on an engine that doesn't even have heads on it. Maybe you don't have pistons in it. Doesn't work. You build an engine that will run on game day because you did all this other stuff. You build them up. And keep your pregame speeches like 5 minutes. These kids, their attention spans aren't that long. Don't go too far with them. That's our pregame is what I was telling you about a little bit ago, where we do our chant, I give them a speech, and it might have something to do with something that went on that week. And I tell them about the other team a little bit, but I don't scare them of the other team. But we've been practicing against them. I tell how what we have practiced is going to beat what they do. So give them confidence. Tell them that all week long. How what we're practicing for is going to beat what they do, and how what we do is better than what they do. Convince your kids of that. My kids are convinced that our offense is the right one, our defense is the right one, the way we do things is the right one. They're all convinced of it. Here's the books that I read to get here. Way of the Wild Heart, John Eldredge, Season of Life, Jeffrey Marks. This one is brand new, but I highly, highly recommend it. Randy Jackson, Culture Defeats Strategy, and these are some others that are pretty good books. Who am I? Now that I've gone through the whole thing and you can choose to do or not do what I said to do. I've been coached for 32 years, 23 years as a head coach. My overall record for my teams is 168 and 65. We are in a conference of up to 16 teams, okay? It's been anywhere from 10 to 16 teams when I've been in it, and we are one of the smallest areas. Only in the last couple of years have we actually gotten areas in the conference that are smaller than us. And they don't even field a midget team, the level I'm coaching 10 to 12-year-olds, they don't even field them, they haven't filled it. Neither of those two fielded a midget team last year. And when they do field them, they lose every game. So we're a single A area. We've got one AAA in our conference, and we've got all the rest of double A's. So we've got, what I got up there, 11 double A's, one AAA, and we got 15 teams. Yeah, not 16. We had 16 a few years ago. And we've put together, my teams have been to 10 championship games and won 5 championships. And a lot more of them have come since I instituted this. We had a stretch of 4 straight years we were in the championship game, from 11 to 14, 11, 12, 13, 14. We've won 12 and 13. And so this stuff works. It doesn't just build your players, it wins. And this is who I am, how you can contact me. That's my personal cell, that's my home phone. And now I'm going to show you some of the video. All right, this is our board drill. This is a little bit showing you exactly what we're talking about. I want the volume on there because now you can see the boom box. And this is us getting at it. This is in 2011. We still were using the boards, and I did away with them. See, getting a little extra on there on the side, right here. This is group 1, 2, 3, 4. And so, and if they jump like that, you get back there, they'll have to do push-ups. I wish I had a fresher video of this, but I don't. That player is one of the biggest studs I've ever had. But you'll see this stuff going on through all these. These are a couple of pretty good high school players right now. See them, they get excited about this. And this just develops intensity over and over because they're going against better players than they would in a scrimmage. And I try and count off, I'm not doing it too much right here, but I try and count off 7 seconds. So make sure that we do board drills for 7 seconds, please. A little different angle. Now we gotta stop this one. This one here is not very smart. He's punching. That's not what we're about. And see how it's non-stop, high energy. We keep getting after it. back here you got the parents watching, and as long as they don't interrupt, I'm okay with it. Because they're learning the pecking order on the team, so I get less complaints about why their kid is playing. It's all a little extracurricular on the ground there.
Right shoulder will go, we'll go. Down. Go. All right.
Okay, this is a little bit of power. This is probably the worst power hour I could have filmed. This was not a very good version of it. But there's the defense is doing the punishment. Right now, it's obviously the offense got it. And now we're getting right back up on the ball. It gets a lot more intense than this a lot of times. Coaches over there giving them a little bit of encouragement, trying to get the defense playing a little bit. And you know, you got a lot more bodies over here. They know we're running power right here. And then defense, you announce the loser, they do their push-ups, and then get right back up, get right back over there. Offense get back to their place. I'm making some corrections, talking to a few of them. But you can hear the music playing, and that's not music I added to this, that's the music from the boombox sitting right back in here. They just keep running the same play over and over, and that way it creates a higher intensity level. This is Hurricane. Got our two blockers, got our defender, we got our ball carrier. Now in this one, I just haven't touched him. Like I said, we got him now carrying the ball and that's okay. We expect some of this, we want some of that. And then you shove him in the back, we don't care about that. Obviously, we never do that in a game. But the 12 seconds is over and the defense gets in, and this is that big stud, so. Usually this little guy was scared to death and had to be, so he run completely out of the circle after. But that's Hurricane, and hopefully you guys got a little something out of that, and you enjoyed the presentation, and you can use some of this stuff. And like I was telling you, get a hold of me.